2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
Hey guys, this is Brannon, the host of the Ask Brannon Anything show. This is the show where we take the most awkward, difficult, challenging questions that are keeping you stuck in your relationships and stuck in your addictions. We break them down, we discuss them, we validate you, we give advice, and we empathize. And most importantly, we help you find truth so you can get unstuck. If you have a question, whatever it may be, go to brannonpatrick.com and submit a question there for the show. What's up, guys? Welcome to Ask Brannon Anything. This episode is a Brannon Asks episode. So I am a therapist, and I see people stuck all the time, stuck and suffering, and they don't want to suffer, and they don't want to be stuck, yet they stay stuck. They keep getting the same outcomes in their life over and over and over again. They want a different result. They want a different outcome, but they don't get it, and they stay stuck. So today we're talking about how to get unstuck. One of my grandpa's favorite sayings was, pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. So think through that one. I'll say it again. Pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. So if suffering is optional, why do we choose to suffer? And do we choose to suffer? Is that actually a real thing? So the first question that I want to take a look at is, why can't I change my life? I think there's a flaw even in the very question. I believe that you can change your life. I think everybody has the ability to change their life. You might be thinking, does that person who's sitting in a jail cell, trapped and stuck, do they have an ability to change their life? And I would argue that they absolutely can change everything about their life, and whether they're suffering or not. That there's been proof of this. Viktor Frankl is proof of this. Viktor Frankl is the psychotherapist who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, and much of that book is his experience in a concentration camp, where he was being forced to do so many things and forced into a lot of painful, difficult situations. And he proved through his work that his suffering was optional, even though he was in probably one of the most horrific scenarios that man has ever faced. Viktor Frankl proved that he could choose to suffer or not suffer, all through the way that he chose how to view things. That's a pretty powerful lesson, and it's one that a lot of people don't want to hear. And the reason why they don't want to hear it is because they want to stay stuck, and they don't want the accountability to actually know that they have that choice and they have that power to not be stuck in their suffering. They want to give reasons why staying stuck is a good idea or why they can't change it. So that leads me to my next question, which is, aren't there circumstances outside of my control that cause me suffering? I think we better define what suffering is. To me, what suffering is it's a resistance to reality. It's a lack of acceptance. So the more we resist, the more we cause ourselves pain. So, for example, if I have an infection that needs to be, let's say I get a cut and I have an infection and that infection needs to be cut out, I can resist the fact that I have that infection, and the infection will continue to grow and cause me suffering. Or I can face the fact that I have it, it needs to be treated. In order to treat it, I'm going to need to cut it out, which will be painful, but at least I'll get over the infection. So I'm facing the reality that it's in there, and I need to deal with it. Sometimes the pain is so much that we don't want to face it, and it causes us long-term suffering. Happens in relationships all the time. Maybe something's happening in your marriage. Maybe you're struggling with communication or healthy intimacy or whatever it may be. And instead of facing the hard reality, maybe the hard reality of some of the things that you're creating in that marriage, the hard reality of how disconnected you are or how much you are struggling, you just kind of avoid that. You avoid it. You don't deal with it. And so you stay disconnected. And over the long run, you feel more loneliness. You feel more resentment. You feel more anger toward your partner. Because instead of facing the difficult pain, you increase the suffering. And the suffering causes more and more pain. The pathway out is oftentimes through stepping into some pain. And so suffering to me is turning something that's hard or difficult or a reality that we may not like into consequences that continue to cause us pain when they don't need to. That's what suffering is. So I want to come back to the question, aren't there circumstances outside my control that cause me suffering? I would say absolutely not. Now you might be listening to this thinking, yeah, but you don't know. Like, my partner's really difficult, and if you had to deal with my partner, then you would never say what you just said, Brannon. You don't know. I live in the middle of nowhere, and the weather's horrible, and it's gloomy, and it's not my fault that the weather's gloomy all the time. So I don't have control over that, and it makes me feel depressed. So therefore, I'm a victim to the reality. The pain, the circumstance that's causing you pain, that is outside of your control. I can't control whether or not good or bad things are totally going to happen to me in my life. I could hop in my car today, somebody could run a red light, and I could get injured, and a lot of that's outside of my control, and I would be in a lot of pain. But I can then decide what to do with that pain. And I can decide to go through a process of grief and acceptance, and even growth and gratitude, I can get myself there to the hard reality, or I can decide to resist it, and I can choose to suffer. I would say my grandpa's statement holds true. Pain is mandatory, but the suffering is optional. The only thing that causes me suffering is me clinging on to something, clinging on to a belief that things should be a certain way, as opposed to having a growth mindset in life or a surrender mindset of things are going to happen to me. And as they happen, they are opportunities for me to grow. They are opportunities for me to praise God, to find gratitude through the trials, through the struggles, and through the pain. And that attitude or that way of living is 100% totally within my power and within my control, regardless of what anybody else does in my life. Okay? This might not be fun stuff to hear if you want to stay stuck. You will rebuke what I'm saying. You won't like it. And I hope that you take that as an indicator that you are stuck, instead of getting mad at Brannon or writing me a bad review or whatever you'll do, because I'm telling you that you have power. I'm telling you that you are powerful, and you are not a victim to your life or to your circumstance. I believe in you. That's why I'm telling you this. I know this myself because I've experienced it myself. Okay? My clients, when I work with my clients, there are some clients that like to spend a lot of money on therapy and a lot of time in therapy, and then there's some clients that are ready to get better. And the way that they do this is they are humble, they're self-reflective, and they're open to looking at and experiencing what reality really is. Okay. Next question. What are common signs of suffering or being stuck? Wow, I could go on and on with this one. Broken relationships. Resentment is a sign every single time. If you resent people around you, you resent your mom and dad, you resent your spouse, then you are choosing to play the victim and you're choosing to suffer. Okay, so resentment is all on you. That you feel that resentment because of you, not because of them. But listen to it. That's an important emotion. Listen to it. It's telling you to either assert yourself and have a boundary and step into something, or it's telling you that there's something that you need to face and let go and surrender and forgive. But that's what that resentment's saying. Staying stuck in the resentment is suffering. Listen to that emotion, face the hard reality, and either assert yourself or surrender. Other signs of suffering, depression. When you're shutting down, you're not wanting to get out of bed. In a lot of ways, you're not wanting to face the realities of life. It's overwhelming and too much, and so you start to lack energy. You start to lack motivation. On the other side of that is anxiety, which is ruminating fears and thoughts that cycle over and over and over again. What you're trying to do is make sense of things so that you can come to some level of control, and but you can never quite get there. So you'll have insomnia or panic attacks, things like that, as opposed to letting go of the fact that you don't have control over certain things and figuring out a way to have peace with that and be okay with that. Addiction is a sign of suffering. Addiction is a way we use to numb out our life so that we don't have to deal with life and step into the pain. If the way out of suffering is through the pain, then addiction is an obvious way to avoid that pain and stay stuck in suffering. it is very obvious that addiction causes suffering. I went to the doctor once, and the doctor said to me, you're too good at tolerating pain. And I thought, what does he mean by that? He's like, yeah, you're going to get more sick because you're too good at tolerating pain, and your body's telling you some things, and you need to listen. And instead of just trudging through and dealing with it, face the fact that you have some signs about your health that you need to change. You need to shift. So just tolerating pain is different than stepping into that pain and listening to it and doing something about it. Okay, so another sign of suffering is physical ailments and physical symptoms. Autoimmune diseases are, a huge reason why we have autoimmune diseases. One is because we eat garbage, and that's addiction. The other is because of stress and anxiety, and we don't deal with our stress. And so eventually our body starts to attack itself. So yes, suffering. Things like heart problems or tension in your jaw or chronic headaches are all signs that we're not stopping and facing some things and letting go of some things. Rather, we're just trying to suffer through. Okay. Another sign of suffering is disconnection from other people, or conflict in relationships. A person who resonates in acceptance is easy to connect to and willing to engage with other people. A person who resonates in anger, fear, guilt, and shame will disconnect from other people. So the pathway to connection is through acceptance. So if you're having a lot of problems in your relationships, then you're probably not working through some of the hard stuff in your life. Okay? I could go on and on. Denial is a great sign of suffering. If you're rationalizing, minimizing, comparing yourself to other people and justifying that way, it's a good sign that you don't want to face what is, and you're going to cause yourself some suffering. Okay. I before I get to this last question, I just want to say the way out of suffering is actually different than what you think it is, probably. I think the natural response to stop the suffering and to get unstuck is to kick into gear and to work harder, so that you can get different outcomes in your life. I'm a huge fan of hard work. I think that's a great thing. However, your energy, your intention behind why you do that hard work is very important. So if let's say I'm suffering, and my suffering is I'm gaining a lot of weight, I'm getting unhealthy, I'm just not taking care of myself. So then I shame myself and I say, look, you need to lose weight, you need to eat better, so you better go on this diet, you better work out because you're getting fat and you're not okay. Is that going to really alleviate my suffering, or is that going to cause me more suffering? That would cause me more suffering. I might go lose a bunch of weight, but I'll feel horrible as I do it because I'm telling myself how horrible I am so that I can lose that weight. Okay? The way out of suffering is through acceptance. I said that before, I'm saying it again. The way out of suffering is through acceptance. So it's through compassion for myself. So if I realize, oh my gosh, I'm gaining a lot of weight, I'm eating my emotions, and I stop and I say, you know what? You are. That there's a reason why you are, and you're okay as you are. You're a beautiful soul. God still loves you. Your worth is still there. All those things are true. So believe that you're a healthy person as well. Like really come to that place of believing that you are healthy. And right now you're suffering, and that's okay. The outcomes of what you're getting right now, that's reality. It's true. That's where you're at. But now I accept myself where I'm at, but also start to see the real me. And the real me is a person who wants to have, a person who is a healthy person, okay? Which leads me to the last question here. What's one thing I can do to break free from my suffering? So instead of making a list of goals and working hard toward those goals, what I would challenge you to do is to start to create a vision of hope and beat that into your head. Believe that things can be different and actually see it. Now, what's helpful to do that is find somebody who's been through what you're going through. If you're stuck in addiction and suffering there, find somebody who's found recovery. If you're stuck in a hard relationship, or find somebody who's fixed their relationship and finding love in their relationship now. So find a mentor, write out what you see could be possible instead of what you're getting in your life, and go a little overboard with it. Maybe you're stuck in your career and you're not making any money and you're thinking, man, I want something different. Well, write out what life could be. You could make a lot of money if that's what you want. Believe that could be true. If you're not going to believe it and have that hope, then you won't start to let go of the fears that are holding you back. So I know this is cliche and whatever, but it works. I have a vision board on my bedroom wall where, like, for example, a picture that I have on that vision board is of a golf course. I wanted to get out more in nature. I wanted to golf more. And what do you know? Last year I did, because I believed that that's what was going to happen in my life. And I wasn't stuck, working all the time. I would actually take off a Friday afternoon or a Wednesday afternoon. I'd go golfing, because I believed that was going to be in my life and that was going to happen. And it was uncomfortable. I had to face some pain, stress about money, stress about clients, stress about other things, to say, you know what, this afternoon I'm going golfing. And I believed that it was important. So create a vision board or a vision statement, write it out, see it, feel what it feels like to actually experience the different life rather than the one that you're in. You're used to the one that you're in, and you're comfortable in your discomfort. You're comfortable in what's killing you right now. So break out of that comfortability, step into the discomfort, and believe that your life can be different. And that's the first step to getting unstuck, is to actually believe that you can create something different. You guys, I believe in the human spirit. I believe that we all can create what we want in our lives. And some of us are given harder circumstances than others. However, we have it within us, no matter what our circumstances are, to resonate in love, peace, and power. And you have that within you right now. And so I do want to validate your suffering and empathize with how hard it is. I know it's hard. I know what you're going through is really, really difficult, because I see it day in and day out with the clients that I meet with, and I hear so many stories, and I understand what human suffering is. And I know that you're resilient, and I know that you can create peace and power in your life. You guys, if you liked this episode, then please share it, and also rate and review the podcast. That's really helpful. Another thing is check me out at Brannon_Patrick on Instagram, and head on over to brannonpatrick.com for more resources. Have a great day, you guys. I'll see you later.